Hello, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we will be talking about The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. It's season 15, episode 1. I cannot believe we are 15 seasons in. I've been watching since the beginning, and the evolution of this show is something to think about, but not right now. Right now, let's get into the recap of this particular season premiere. They open with all of the shots of the ladies. They start off with Sutton riding her horse, and then they show Ericka in short shorts, high heel boots, washing her Porsche. Now listen, my takeaway from this, I could have done without the scene, but Ericka still has great legs. So I'm not hating. And then we move on over to Dorit, who's walking across the street, decked out in Chanel, carrying Hermes bags. And this was a big deal when this happened. It was, I think, in the spring, makes sense. That's when they started filming. And she was walking across the street with these Hermes bags just after they had broken the news about the pre-foreclosure, and there was all this speculation about all of the money troubles they were having on the heels of them having just announced that they were split up. And so there was even talk that maybe the bags were empty and she had purchased them online just to, I don't know, save face. Well, the idea at the time was that she was out there shooting content, but the reality of it is that she was shooting for the show. That's how I'm going to solve this particular riddle, and we're going to move on. We know for sure that she bought at least one $2,000 Hermes blanket because that is the birthday gift that she shows up with when she goes to visit Bose. And apparently the two are close enough that Liel calls Dorit Auntie Dorit. And I don't know, maybe things work differently in Beverly Hills, but I would not give someone that I have known as a friend for just a year a $2,000 Hermes blanket for their birthday. But that's just me. Maybe it's all relative, I don't know. So Dorit filed for divorce the day that the media photos of PK in a lip lock with what Bose referred to as a Shein version of Dorit surfaced. So we find out that there's still hard feelings between Kyle and Dorit, even though they supposedly had a fresh start at the reunion. Dorit tells us that she's hurt that when the news broke of her having filed for divorce, it took Kyle 4 days after the announcement surfaced to reach out to her. And I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, sometimes you want your friends to be there. Well, all the time you want your friends to be there when you need them. But sometimes you have to understand that they have lives too and that they care. Maybe they just couldn't reach out. Maybe they're going through their own thing. And I know it's easy for me to say as I'm sitting here thinking about it from the outside looking in. And that if I was in the throes of it, and I've been there, and I felt like I really needed somebody, I would not have the same perspective or perception of the facts. But for me, it just seems like she was expecting a lot from someone who she was just mending a pretty broken friendship with. So the fact that Kyle reached out in what I would refer to as like the second wave of friends next to like your real close friends and family when something big like that happens, I think that that's perfectly acceptable, but that's just me. And again, it wasn't happening to me. It doesn't matter. She's upset, and I don't think that this season is going to see, a big love fest between Kyle and Dorit. I just don't see it coming to you guys. So we move on to Kyle, and she and the girls are sitting around the kitchen talking, and she tells us that Alexia is engaged And Alexia's sitting there sharing all her wedding plans and, ideas with the girls. And then mom steps out of the room and comes back with her and Mo's wedding album and starts flipping through the photos. And the first thing I remembered was pretty much every wedding album from a professional photographer back in the 80s looked exactly like that. Secondly, most of the photos looked pretty much stock like that. But most importantly, how beautiful and young and fresh and doe-eyed were those kids in those photos. I just thought it was really cute to be able to have them share that with us. It did, however, start to make me wonder why Kyle is so stuck on all things marriage to Mauricio. And my takeaway is she's still in love with him. I think we will continue to prove this even throughout this episode. And if my gut serves me, probably throughout the season. They talk about whether or not either of the parents would bring someone to Alexia's wedding. And then they move on to all of Mauricio's indiscretions in the media with the young chicks that he's dating. And Porsche tells us that having been in therapy has been really helpful for her. She shares that it has been able to make her more able to share her feelings and face hard things. And it's true. You guys, life isn't easy. If anybody's telling you it's easy, they're lying to you. But it is important to know that we can face hard things and come out at the other end of them. It's a really important lesson. So I think it's really cool that Portia's in therapy and that she's learning this very important lesson very young. So we move on to Rachel Zoe, who makes her debut by visiting Kathy Hilton in that same lemon muumuu from the Capri luncheon. Do you remember from last season? If memory serves me correctly, that's the same dress Kathy was wearing. Anyway, the two, it turns out, are old friends, and Rachel is there to dress Kathy for a trip to Rome, which includes a black tie wedding. And I remember that this girl was in hella demand. They start to show flashbacks, and they start to chat about Roger and all the things that were going on. But the one thing that struck me, excuse me, was how much of an A-list dresser she was. I mean, she was just the stylist for really the cream of the crop at that time. Anyway, back to Roger, the estranged husband. One of the side benefits that I realized by having Rachel Zoe on board is that we get to hear about her past. And we also see it, given that the Rachel Zoe project was on Bravo, that we'll be getting a lot of flashbacks. So to me, that seems like an added bonus that I did not anticipate. I don't know. Just something that I was thinking about. Ericka visits Kyle and they get ready to head over to Sutton's for a lunch where none other than Mama Reba will be in attendance. And Sutton tells us that she and Mama Reba are getting along better than ever now. Kyle brings up the elephant in the room as soon as they're all kind of seated and hanging around. Avi is missing. Sutton kind of hems and haws, but really doesn't tell us anything. She says that there was no real big catalyst that led to him being gone, but that she did have to let him go, and she thought that they were friends, and so on and so forth. My husband, as we're watching this scene, noticed that Sutton's vodka soda glass got bigger this season. Either that or she got smaller. No shade? Shade. Sutton says she felt like she lost a friend in Avi, and then somebody brings up Garcelle. So we pivot and we start talking about the other elephant in the room, which is Sutton's big breakup with Garcelle. And Ericka and Kyle tell us they haven't heard from Garcelle at all. And they tell us that they played the incredibly mature game of unfollow on Instagram, which for some reason has become a societal statement these days. Like, why are we that beholden? I'm baffled. I think his name is Luke, the party planner. You guys, that's the same guy from Sutton's fashion show last season at the Godfrey on the rooftop that I said looked like the Move That Bus dude. Remember Ty Pennington? Is that him? I mean, he's not moving buses. He could be making money as an extra on The Housewives. No judgment. Fascinating conversation. Sutton tells the girls she received a letter from the Catholic Church saying her ex had applied for an annulment. The annulment was granted and the marriage eradicated. You know, Sutton clearly is really devastated about this, and you could tell that this was probably the thing that she was going to struggle to share on camera. And we could get into a whole other thing about Catholic Church and the annulment process or what have you. But it just made me sad that this is something that obviously brought her some shame for some reason. And so they're all sitting around talking about this and trying to be gentle. And what does Mama Reba have to say about this?
What I said was, does that make the children bastards?
No, see, he changed that too.
That's
Pope Francis
right.
changed everything. So the children are legitimate.
That's so stupid anyway.
Does that make the children bastards? Yikes. I guess it's just a case of shouting out what everybody else is thinking. Not, oh, Mama Reba. Kyle announces a summer party at her house. She tells the girls Dorit and Bose will be at the party. And they start talking about the fact that Dorit had filed for divorce. And then Ericka says divorce brings out the worst in everybody. While Kathy, for some reason, is trying to chop a stray piece of straw from her hat with these huge scissors without any ability to see what she's cutting. And Kyle is convinced that she's going to chop her finger off. Anyway, if this is just Kathy, which is part of her charm in being kind of unaware, then fabulous. If these are things that she is starting to self-produce for screen time or comic relief, then I don't like it. What I will say is that I sat on the panel with Kathy and Kyle at BravoCon, and she is naturally zany. So it wouldn't surprise me if this is just how she conducts herself, and she lost interest in the conversation. So she asked one of the servers to bring her a pair of scissors because the stray piece of straw was bugging her. I mean, who are we to judge? So they're talking about PK and the divorce and all of that stuff. And Mama Reba chimes in and says she would not kiss PK because she finds him very unattractive. Sutton then turns to Kyle and kind of reluctantly asks if she has cut off all ties with PK or if she still communicates with him. And Kyle says no, but go back and watch that scene. Take a look at her body language and her mannerisms. I turned to my husband and we both thought in that moment she was lying. I even posted it on Instagram with a poll because I'm curious to know if everybody else sees what I see in that moment. Kyle became instantly uncomfortable and she seems like she's lying. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we're foreshadowing. Who knows? But next we're off to Rachel Zoe's house. Yay. Which, by the way, is gorgeous. And I've been dying to see. And she tells us she's found her peace. Even though she's alone, she's enjoying her newfound freedom in peace. Good for her. Now, Full disclosure, Rachel is on the show. Her estranged husband, Roger, is not on the show. And the show is on Bravo, and Bravo is the one in possession and picking the clips that get aired. But yikes, the reel that they showed, this dude Roger seemed like a hothead. Rachel asks her 11-year-old son Caius, who by the way is adorable, how things are going. And Caius says, most divorces are rough, but I like him. Rachel, seemingly surprised, says, you like him? He said, yeah, he's my dad. And then she, in confessionals, goes on to say what, in my opinion, are a few very telling things. And I turned to my husband and I said, it sure seems that she's trying to influence him, because I didn't get any of that coming from this kid. Listen to this and tell me if you think I am right.
I like him.
You like him?
Yeah, he's my dad.
Okay. Think that they wonder why he sometimes does or says things he says, why he acts the way he does, why there is time spent with his girlfriend versus his kids.
Now, maybe it's just me, but that seems like a classic case of projection. It's too soon to tell, so I'm going to move on. Rachel asks Caius if he likes any girls, and he tells his mama his hormones haven't kicked in yet, which she is very relieved by. This kid is just adorable. Then Caius gives us the quote of the day, which is, real love isn't easy, and easy love isn't real. And there we have it, guys. The title of this podcast episode, this kid is prophetic. Next, we have Bose and Ericka, who meet for dinner. And I must admit, although I love all things Bose, I'm bothered by Bose's order for the brown lamb at the restaurant. No. Why, Bose? Why? Ericka talks about her reaction to Tom being sentenced, and Bose asked her if she feels like it's really over, and Ericka says that it's just not easy to shake off. Then Bose brings up the Daily Mail article talking about Ericka Jane hooking up with a much younger Bravo star, who we now know is Jesse Solomon from Summer House. Remember last spring? It was a big story. When asked to set the record straight, Ericka says, quote, the record is, don't worry about it, end quote. Then they get to talking about Sutton. Bose says she can't trust somebody like Sutton because Sutton is too inconsistent. And I think therein lies the problem with Sutton, is that 1 minute she's like, I'm there for you, I'll be your friend, I'll help you through this. And the next minute she's talking about her big wallet. I don't know. Sutton tells Kyle she doesn't hold on to things when she's FaceTiming with her as they're getting ready for the summer solstice party, and that she doesn't want to cause any more problems. It is very apparent that Sutton is running low on friendships and relationships and is treading a little lightly, at least in this moment. So they all start to file into the party, and it's really pretty. I kind of love the flower wreath making booth and the pressed flower jar making booth. I think the whole vibe of the party is super adorable. The guests start to arrive, and Faye Resnick's plus one, Anna, is mistaken for Dorit for just a second. And then the real Dorit gets there, and it's kind of an awkward greeting and exchange between her and Kyle. And then this happens.
So wait a second. Is that non-alcoholic champagne, or are you finally coming to the dark side again?
This is non-alcoholic champagne.
Oh.
But I can still go to the dark side.
Oh!
Don't get it twisted.
Am I reading too much into this, or is this more foreshadowing now? Just for perspective, I need you guys to help me out. As far as I know, Kyle was not spotted drinking any alcohol at BravoCon, and that was just a couple of weeks ago. And I would imagine if she was, that would have been a story. But I really found the whole thing very interesting. Is she just like doing that thing where she's like, I'm going to have the season where I just say all the shocking things? Back to the summer solstice party, and poor Keeley, he had to be the only guy to show up to the garden party. Why? I don't know. Maybe so that Bose could point out in the car that she was the only one who had a man, so therefore he would more than likely be the only man there. We knew Rick Hilton wasn't going to show up. But I will say how happy I am to see Bose and her family and kind of more of her backstory. It'll be interesting to see how it unfolds this season because we know she's now engaged to Keeley. And Bose brings up who's left to arrive. And when Sutton comes up, Dorit says that she is not looking for trouble with Sutton. But if she goes there, then she'll meet her there. How do you feel when you walk up to a group? It's happened to all of us at one time or another. And if it hasn't, then you've seen it happen to somebody. And it gets sort of awkwardly quiet. And then someone blurts out, "Oh, we were just talking about you." Or, "Were your ears ringing? We were just talking about you." Does that ever make you feel like, yay, what were you saying? Thank you so much. I don't know. That's how Sutton was greeted as she walked up to the group. It's kind of an awkward start, right? Eventually, they start small talk, and Dorit tells Sutton that she's so sorry to have heard about the annulment. Of course, that's the one thing that you have to bring up, that you should bring up to break the ice because, it's not a trigger at all. And it's just a real simple and benign subject. What the hell? So they end up having a little moment anyway, which surprised me, where Sutton kind of reaches out to Dorit and wants to shake on a sentiment that they shared. But it's so uncomfortable to watch because Dorit doesn't really reciprocate in the moment. In fact, she's kind of put off and kind of taken off balance and kind of calls her out. Thankfully, Bo steps in to change the direction of the conversation over to Avi and Garcelle. A couple of other simple topics, right? Sutton tells us the last time she saw Garcelle was when she was walking off the stage at the reunion, which would basically be the last time we all saw her as a housewife too. Dorit then asked Sutton if she felt that the relationship with Garcelle was more of an alliance and less of a friendship. And Sutton says she has a hard time believing that and that she really did love Garcelle. And in the confessionals, she gets emotional, right? And Sutton's right. If Garcelle is not going to communicate her feelings to the group, then playing the guessing game is futile, you guys. Kathy and Rachel finally arrive, and folks, we have an opportunity to expand the storyline. Rachel knows some of the girls through other means over the years, and so now that everybody is there, the girls all sit down to this picnic-style lunch, and for some reason, Kathy pulls out a pair of rag and bone jeans from her purse that she bought for Kyle. These are the kind of antics that I was referring to earlier. Cute if just the way she is, quirky as fuck, but cute. A little obnoxious if she's trying. So as the lunch kind of goes on, Rachel starts talking about her divorce, and she says it's been a year and that it's been good and bad. But she says something that is pretty poignant. She says kids want parents that love them, not parents that don't love each other. So they start talking about the kids, and then Bose reminds us that Dorit felt very strongly about not telling the children last season about her divorcing PK. And so then we revisit that for a little while, and Kyle asks if the kids now know. And Dorit says they do, but then she can't really seem to articulate a full sentence to explain it. So Kyle, being Kyle, makes it very easy by asking, with a huge smile on her face, a very pointed question. Have you sat them down and said you're getting divorced since filing? Dorit says no. And then she tells us she just wants peace and she wants to be happy. So Kathy chimes in and asks Dorit if she's bothered by the media pictures of PK. Dorit's about to fluff over when Rachel pipes in and she says, what, that he's running around with girls? And so we get a little taste of what life with Rachel is going to be, and I kind of love it. I love that Dorit basically throws the hot potato into Kyle's lap by saying, it must have been that he saw Mo and wanted to do the same thing. And I think the best part is that Kyle is just too smart to just laugh along. And then Rachel tells Kyle that she saw Mo in Aspen. Someone was trying to set him up with her. Oh boy. Awkward.
Don't know each other.
Yuck, and also maybe it's a bad idea. I mean, is there anybody left in Beverly Hills that Mo hasn't tried to get with? He hasn't tried to get with me. Let's just make that clear.
Thank you for clearing that right up for us, Miss Bozama. So the conversation turns to Kyle, who says she is single, but she's choosing not to date. And Rachel tells Kyle things are about to change. 3 nights a week, you need to go out. 3 nights a week, we need to go out. Dorit says she wants to go, and alas, the notion of a hot girl summer is born. And that was the end of the first episode. All in all, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty entertaining. I'm so far loving Rachel Zoe. I thought she would be kind of a hoot to have on, but we'll see how it unfolds. It's too early to really know anything. And, of course, we're going to be pushed to want to watch her because she's new and it should be refreshing and fun in the beginning. Let's see if it holds out. So we see some of what I'm assuming is the first part of the season preview and some of the takeaways. We hear the Brad and Angelina comment from Kyle. We see that they're going to have some sort of a gathering where they will be painting nudes. We have a hard launch of a relationship. And we know that they're going to the Hamptons, to Sedona, and to Florence. Oh my gosh. We also have a sneak peek of the newbie Amanda, and we see that things are going to go south. And spoiler alert, Rachel doesn't have a hot girl summer. I can't wait. You guys, it's going to be a good season. For now, I'm going to continue to follow it. I'll cover it. If it falls off, we'll revisit the conversation. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life living on the verge of craziness just to cover this show. But you know what? I liked it. So I'll follow again next week. I think they're going to have some sort of an after show for this, which always gives us a different perspective, which I kind of think is pretty cool as well. So that's it for Beverly Hills. But before we go, I have a little bit of Beverly Hills tea. TMZ recently released a story stating that when Rick and Kathy Hilton's LA home got broken into a couple weeks back while Kathy Hilton was at BravoCon, Rick Hilton was home. You'll remember I reported on this on the podcast, and he was home. But what we now know is that he fired his shotgun when the burglars broke in. So, wow. Okay. That must have been so scary. And has anybody seen Britney's new look? Brittany Cartwright of the Valley has bangs. She has lightened and highlighted her hair. And I guess the glow up continues. Good for you, girl. No judgment here. A little bit of kind of a bummer news. Things don't seem to be going well with Candy and Todd. I saw a post of hers on social media earlier today where she's thanking everybody for the outpouring of love because she's really struggling. She found out that in a recent filing, Todd has requested full custody of the children, citing that he is more available because of all of her work and all of her travel. And so it kind of is lending to the fact that we're not going to go down a smooth road on this one. First, he was protesting the validity of the prenup, and now this. I don't know. It doesn't sound good, guys. Lastly, we have the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion seating chart was released, and I'm going to read it to you. You tell me if it ended up where you thought it would. On Andy's right side, we have Bronwyn. Yep. Followed by Heather, Angie, and Brittany. On Andy's left side, we have Lisa, followed by Meredith, Mary, and at the end, Whitney. Is that where you thought it would shake out? Do you think that makes sense for what's happening right now? Or is this more a forecast of where things are going with the rest of the season? That's it for the podcast today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great weekend. If you're out there shopping, getting ready for the holidays, remember, err on the side of kindness. You never know what somebody who you encounter, the person who cut you off because they were distracted, thinking about their sick parent, or, the person who really cut you off in the line at the checkouts because they're getting medicine for a sick child running a fever at home. Those certain kinds of things, you just never know. And so my thought for today is to leave you with lead with kindness, and you really can't go wrong with that. I'll be back next week. We'll talk Salt Lake City, maybe some Beverly Hills, and whatever the heck else I happen to get myself into out here as I'm just living on the verge.